Hello, it's Lynn Watts here, and in this video, I'm going to talk about bully prevention. So this, of course, is an important topic and is certainly something that every elementary school counselor needs to be very knowledgeable about, well aware of, and have an ongoing program at their school that prevents bullying. So the first thing that we need to do, of course, is to define what is bullying. And many times, what the general population, when the average student, the average parent thinks of as bullying is not necessarily what is accepted as the ongoing definition of bullying and what you're working toward preventing at your school. So let's be really clear about what the definition is first. And then I'm going to talk about the kind of programs that you need to have in your school in terms of bully prevention. So I'm going to actually just read the the definition. So the definition of what is a bully is defined as unwanted, obviously, aggressive behavior among school-age children that involves a real or a perceived power imbalance. So there is this sort of imbalance of power where an older, a larger, more aggressive student is impacting another student who is younger, smaller, has less ability to deal with what is happening. So there's the imbalance of power that is certainly part of it. Bullying can be physical, so it could be hitting, pushing, shoving, fighting. It can be verbal, which might mean name calling, teasing someone, or it could be social. So it could be spreading rumors. It could be excluding someone from a group. So all these different areas could come into play. It might be all of these things, or it might be just one of these different areas. And it's also important to highlight that this is typically, bullying is seen as something that happens over and over again to the same person. So that doesn't mean that if it happens once, that you ignore it and say, well, I need to wait and see if this continues. Rather, if it happens once, let's say name calling or teasing or exclusion from a group, then of course you want to address it in hopes of preventing it from escalating. But in general, bullying itself is seen as something that has happened repeatedly to that same individual, to the point where they are fearful, they're anxious, that they have a lot of reaction to it. And so it certainly is definitely very impactful on their social as well as their physical and emotional being. So that's the definition for bullying. And unfortunately, it is very prevalent in the schools. There is certainly some statistics about that. An article I saw says the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services feels like bullying is often, or students that report it's about 20%. I've seen statistics that are much higher than that. So certainly it is an ongoing problem in many of our schools today. So what can you do about it? I'm going to tell you 5 different practices that you need to have going on in your school. And most of them are overarching general kind of practices. I certainly, in a lot of my lesson plan books, have specific lesson plans that you can do in the classroom about these different topics, different areas, but these are just in general. This is where you need to go with it. The first one is that you need to have a practice of promoting kindness and empathy, 2 very important words. And this is a preventive tactic for preventing bullying. Why is that? Because if you have the kind of culture where everyone is expected to act with kindness toward each other, they understand differences and feelings, they're empathetic to the differences of each other, then you are going to go a long way toward preventing bullying from happening. So the first one is to have an ongoing program that promotes kindness and empathy. The second one is you need to have a very clear anti-bullying policy. And this can come from perhaps your district. It might come from administration, but certainly it's something that you're going to have to work with an overall authority in order to make it happen. And it should be something that is policy that's clear, not just to students, while that's very important, of course, to prevent it, but it also is something that needs to be very clear and taught to all staff, to all your faculty, because they're the ones that are, boots on the ground that are going to see bullying when it happens, and they need to intervene. So having a clear anti-bullying policy is going to be important, and that everybody understands what it is. Number 3 is to foster some sort of peer support network. So anything you can do that helps create support among students is very effective in preventing bullying. So for instance, just buddying up different classes, having, an upper class buddy up with a younger class for reading buddies, for math buddies, for any kind of special activities, so that students don't feel so isolated, and also so that they gain an understanding of different students, different ages, and just the diversity that goes on within a school. So anything you can do to foster peer support. This could also include the small groups that you do as a counselor. Those are certainly peer support type of networks. It's also important that students understand where is a safe place to talk about any concerns that they have. Obviously, that's the counseling office, and you want to make that available and well known. It might be in small groups. It might be helping teachers develop classroom meetings or something of that sort where students feel comfortable expressing concerns. The 4th one is to educate students on what is a healthy relationship. What can you expect in a healthy relationship? So what is a good friend? What are the qualities of a good friend? And what does that actually look like? And then helping, teaching students how to behave in that way. Things like respect, kindness, which we've also mentioned, and certainly on communication, conflict resolution, teaching students how it's normal to have disagreements, and this is how you solve them. So all of these different things go in together in preventing bullying. And then finally, bullying prevention should be an ongoing education. So it's not something you do a class on once a year. I think it's obvious that there's all these different pieces that fit together to create the kind of environment where bullying is not acceptable, where students recognize it when it happens, where they know what to do, and they feel at least informed and reasonably comfortable in terms of reporting it and helping to prevent bullying from happening. So an ongoing education process that teaches not only about bullying, but all these other pieces that go into that. All right. So I hope that helps in terms of bullying prevention. I'm going to do a separate video on strategies that you would want to teach students should they feel that they're being bullied. What are some specific strategies that they need to be aware of to do? All right. So thanks as always for listening.